Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Jeff Dover. With me is John Barman. Let's talk football.
Yeah, we're going to go over our NFL Week 7 best games to watch. Right out of the gates, obviously, the Super Bowl rematch, KC at San Francisco.
Hmm.
KC looks essentially unstoppable right now. They're doing whatever they want to whoever they want. San Francisco finally got a decent game together and seemed to have righted the ship on a few things. I think the first major thing here is who's going to turn this into their game. Is this going to be a
Hmm.
Is San Fran going to be playing Kansas City's game, or is
Hmm.
Kansas City going to be stuck in a San Francisco game? My tendency right now is Kansas City pretty much controls every game. So I'm guessing it's just going to be San Francisco dealing with Kansas City dictating to them the pace.
Hmm. So I know you're not a big point spread person. If you had to guess, what would be your point spread for this game
In San Francisco,
in San Francisco?
San Francisco 2.5.
Oh, great call. San Francisco 1.5, but it absolutely could be 2.5 at some point because of the. Yeah, I thought it was. I'm a little surprised KC's not more favored, but it at San Fran definitely makes makes a difference, and I think people are still like us, we're sort of buzzing coming off the Seahawks win, where San Francisco looked like they really turned a corner and was playing a lot better. So, yeah, definitely the game of the week, really, in terms of the schedule and what I'm looking forward to. And it's the afternoon slot Eastern too, the 4:25 Eastern, which is a good time point to watch, at least on the East Coast. And no, and I want to see Purdy play. I want to see Purdy and Mahomes play. And this is, it's the. I'd love to see San Francisco to win, just because we did a video earlier. Does the NFL have a dynasty problem with Kansas City? And it'd be nice to mix it up a little bit. And so if San Francisco could win, or at least play really well, I think that that'd do a lot for me.
Yeah, and this will look nice too. The afternoon
Yeah.
California games just get a lighting that the rest of the country can't quite capture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the and the thing is, the pressure's all on San Francisco here. Kansas City can lose this game, and it just
Yeah.
won't
No, I
matter.
know they can.
After last season, I'm assuming they already had this confidence, but they know that they don't need to dominate the regular season to turn it on in the playoffs. It's almost like it's a formula now.
Mm-hmm.
They get to the playoffs, and then they turn it on in the playoffs. So there's nothing that Kansas City needs to prove here at all. Win or
No, well,
lose.
and they're 5-0 in their division. The next closest team is 3-2 with the Chargers, which is not exactly a world-beating team either. San Francisco's 3-3 in their division. They're in Seattle's 3-3, and Arizona's 2-4. So San Francisco, every win is going to be important, and every loss is going to be bad because it's going to really shuffle the standings. Whereas Kansas City, even 6 weeks into the season, almost has breathing room. So you couldn't be more right when you said it's Kansas City doesn't have to have this one. Not only, and that's just not even including like all the playoff stuff like you were talking about. So
It's no statement on them if they even come out with a total lay an egg. It's just
no,
not a statement
exactly,
about how
yeah,
good they are, because we all know come playoff time, they're just going to have it
yeah, they
completely
got the goods,
they're going to have
yeah.
it completely buttoned up no matter what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
So given that it's just doesn't matter like how
Mm-hmm.
well they play, they are going to be there at the end. San Francisco's got to prove it, if anything, to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, obviously, biggest game of the year for sure.
Yeah.
What do you got next?
Okay, so my next one that I'm excited for is Detroit, Minnesota. We talked about it earlier in the week that the NFC North could be the best division in all of football, probably is the best division in all of football, and these are the two best teams in the division. So it's 5-0 Minnesota against 4-1 Detroit. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to it. It's in the early slot, the 1 p.m. And at Minnesota, when Minnesota is firing, that's a pretty good home field advantage too there. So, but Detroit's coming off a dominant win against Dallas. So I'm excited about that game. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward
it's
to
just
it. And always, I feel I'm a little worried that there's going to be more of an advantage for Minnesota coming off the bye, because I think byes are really big, especially once you get into 5 games into the season, because everyone's banged up, and just having that extra week's going to make a big difference. So I'm a little worried that Minnesota's going to be really healthier for this game, really more than anything else. But that just should be a good game.
Yeah, and speaking of banged up, Hutchinson's done for the season.
Oh,
So this is the
yeah.
first display of what kind of depth Detroit has at that position. Now, obviously, whoever comes in is not going to be that good. Well, who knows? Maybe there is a guy we don't know about that's amazing that's on the
Hmm.
roster, but it's not likely. He was playing at defensive player of the year level.
Hmm.
He was leading the league in sacks, and he just looked completely dominant. Like it looked like he figured it completely out. Like
Yeah.
this, he was at Max Crosby, Bosa, Garrett, um, Miles Garrett level. He's there. He's in that top 4 or 5.
Yes.
TJ Watt. That's it. He's right in there with them. And again, leading the league in sacks. So
Hmm.
that's a massive loss for a team that essentially looks complete. So we'll see what they look like without him. So
Hmm.
big time games. Second, maybe biggest game of the year after the KC
Yep.
49ers. Next one I'm interested in. Little curveball here, Dover. New,
Okay.
New England at Jacksonville.
What?
Because Drake Maye. He's
Oh my
finally
goodness.
this. I've been on the Drake Maye train since like week 3,
You think you
and
know someone?
I want I wanted this guy to start. He's finally gets a start. He throws 3 touchdowns. Brissett's only thrown 2 in the first
Hmm.
5 games. So finally, they realized it was just a waste of time having Brissett in there. He's not learning anything from Brissett. None of this.
Hmm.
What does he learn? He goes in, plays 1 game, throws 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he had a couple picks, but one of them at least was a deflection. It wasn't really his fault. Now he's learning at NFL speed, real bullets, real defenses, and he's already better than Brissett. The hell's he going to
Hmm.
learn from a guy that's worse than him? So it's just too bad for the New England fans. They wasted 5 games not letting them see what may or may not be their future, but let's get to it. So they were exciting to watch last week for no other reason than I just want to see what this kid can do. And he looks like he's got some of what it's going to take. So I'm all in on New England for no other reason, just to see Drake Maye. I don't care if they win or lose. I just want to see if they've got their guy.
Well, and the one thing I will say is that it's the London game, so it's 9:30 Eastern here. So it's the only one on at that time slot. So they have a lot of eyeballs on it. So a lot of people will be able to check out Drake Maye in case you haven't seen him before. And the next, the Jaguars aren't good. So they have a chance if he plays okay, they have a chance to win that game, and the next week for them it's against the Jets, which is again it seems like a winnable game now all of a sudden. So it's you're right. They're giving them a chance. The schedule's not terrible right now. There to me it was still sort of 2 not great teams going at it, which is why it didn't make my list. But I'll give you the Drake May thing. That's it's a good point about that. And
Yeah.
instead of a time frame, well, you'll
Well,
be
I'm
able to
just
catch
viewing
it.
it from the standpoint that the 2 guys picked ahead of him are doing okay. So let's see if he can
Yeah.
do it too.
Yeah. All right.
What do you got?
So the next one on my list was Carolina at Washington. And this is because I just love watching Jane Daniels. They're coming off the loss against Baltimore. And this is where, a good team should win. Like it should be a dominant win. Carolina should not have any part of this. It's at Washington. And I want to see that. I want to see Jane Daniels play really well. Not that he played poorly against Baltimore, but I want the team to bounce back after that loss and win a game you're supposed to. And because that division and just the playoffs in general is going to be more interesting if Washington's good. So that's what I'm hoping for that one.
And they had just lost their best defensive lineman. Allen is done for the season. So Washington's got something to prove here, at least missing another key player. Now we're fully into the area of the season where major players are dropping.
Yes.
Like 2 teams now, the Lions and the Commanders, have arguably lost their best defensive players. So that's a big deal. And we're just going to start seeing more of this stuff. So, I'm my next one's Houston at Green Bay.
Okay.
They're just really, really good teams.
Yeah,
and
that's a good one.
Now this is a serious test for both teams. I mean, it's not like they haven't had ones before, but we're getting into some major games here. And there's not much else to say about it. They're just both quarterbacks are playing really high level. Both teams are playing really well. And someone's got to win, and the way they can move the ball. Now I get it. Houston's lost one of their best receivers, but again, like we said, you just got to go next man up at this point of the season. So
yeah,
this should be a good one.
Yeah, and I don't know what to expect. I could see this being a close game. I could see one of them blowing the other team out. I could see great passing of this game. I could see more dominant, defense. Like this game really could go either way. So I was just excited to. I'm not going to predict anything for this game. I'm just going to sit back and watch it and enjoy.
Yeah. What else you got?
All right, so the next one on my list was going to be the earlier Monday night game. Was Baltimore at Tampa. Baltimore's coming off the win against Washington. Tampa had a dominant win, and so I just think it's sort of two hot teams right now. And I think where they are in the standings too, like neither team wants to really give any ground. Like the Baltimore's 4-2, but so are the Steelers in that division. And Tampa's 4-2, so are the Falcons. They just don't want to give any ground at that point. So I think that's going to be a pretty entertaining Monday night game.
Yeah, that was the only other one I had as a must-watch game. Same reasons. Tampa, man, another college game broke out with Tampa.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy smokes! A few college games broke out this week,
Mm-hmm.
and 50 points. That's just an explosion. And good for Tampa for weathering the storm of giving up 27 points in the second quarter.
That was going to be
crazy.
on my list of flowers. Was the Tampa Bay second half defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a classic example of some halftime adjustments that worked. So that's hard to do in the NFL. So good for them.
Yeah, whatever that halftime speech was good because when you see that happen, what did they have? They gave up like a 17-point lead and gave up 27 points in a quarter. That normally, or at least my memory of games that go that way, that's the team collapses and there's no recovering from that.
Mm-hmm.
And instead they just blasted them in the second half. That was crazy. I would have never guessed after that they'd go put up 50 points. It's a crazy game. Anyways, so maybe Tampa can capture some of that against Baltimore because they're going to need kind of all of it to beat the Ravens. The Ravens are
New
really
Orleans
looking
scored
good.
all 27 points in their second quarter.
Right.
Yeah. So and then nothing after that.
Right.
So
in the beginning,
beginning of the third quarter it was 31-27 Tampa. So like it was a close game at that point, right? And then after the fourth quarter it wasn't.
Yep. So and they're going to need all of it to beat the Ravens. And there's not much else to say about the Ravens. They're just that good. And Jackson just looks awesome. He just keeps getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all I got for this week. Do you have anything else as a
No,
must-watch?
I'm gonna look into the Sunday night game just because it's the only one there at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Is the Jets at Pittsburgh? Because once the Jets they fired the coach, they played better. They still lost to Buffalo. This is another AFC game against Pittsburgh, and they have a really good defense, and so it feels like it's sort of a get right game for New York. Maybe Devontae Adams will be there, maybe not. I'm not sure if they'll be ready by then. But that's a tough team to have a get right game against, at Pittsburgh too. So things could get more ugly for the Jets before they get better.
Yeah, I feel like that could be their season is lost or their season is kind of saved like in that game because the coaching change happened. They still lost. Yeah. Now they're up against a team who's
played better, but still lost.
Played better, still lost. Refs kind of made it even worse.
But if they lose that game against Pittsburgh, they'll be 2-5 and have lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, and that's another conference loss too. So it's to me that almost would feel like, okay, that we just blew it. The season's sort of lost.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really hard to claw back from that record. Yeah. All right, well, that's what we got for what we think will be the best games to watch for the NFL. And come back to the channel for our NCAA week, 8 preview. Jeez.
Preview.
Right. Yep. Catch you then.